Welcome to the island of South Georgia. We made it. 3 days at sea. We're here on beautiful Salisbury Plain, where there is a massive colony of king penguins. As you can see behind me, we've got the brown oakum boys, the chicks that have made it through the winter time. Both of their parents are out feeding, and they'll be in a little bit later to deliver some food. And the rest of them in the middle there are on small chicks, or they're still incubating eggs. So at any time, the colony, you'll have molting birds, adults feeding the big chicks, and incubating of eggs and tiny chicks throughout. One of the great things about king penguins in South Georgia is that the numbers are increasing. I've been coming here for about 25 years now, and I've watched this colony grow, almost doubling in size. We had 30 or 40,000 pairs in the mid-90s, and now we're up to about 60,000 pairs now. So things are looking good for king penguins. King penguins are doing really well. Lots of fat chicks and big fat parents, and looks like everybody's having fun.
Well, in the blowing snow, we're actually in the whaler's graveyard at Grytviken at the moment, standing by Sir Ernest Shackleton's grave. He died here in 1923. He's laid in his grave so his head faces the South Pole, which is different to all the other orientations of the graves in the graveyard. And in the background is the whaling station. The whaling station itself is now a museum and a remarkable study of the history of South Georgia, all the way from its original establishment in 1904 through to 1965, when the station closed. I lived on the far side of the bay here in a place called Shackleton House. In those days, the whaling station had only been empty for 2 years, and when we went into it, it was like walking into the Mary Celeste. Every room had things left by the previous inhabitants. There were clothes lying on the floor, there were beds unmade, there were meals half finished. It was a really strange place to go into, and the whole whaling station was still intact in 1967. Gradually over the years it's decayed, but still, if you go to it, you see what was a major industrial activity on the island, and it resulted in enormous profits for the companies running them.
Brown Bluff today. It's really a special place on the Antarctic Peninsula. It's a place where volcanism and ice meet, and it's a really unique environment. Brown Bluff is the remnants of an in-glacial volcano. So what happens in these in-glacial volcanoes is they erupt underneath the ice, and eventually the lava reaches the ice, breaks through, and deposits these plateau-like formations that we saw today.
So today we've just launched our kayaks in a beautiful bay with lots of icebergs in a place called Couvreville, which is one of my all-time favorite places for kayaking. The ice is actually very safe here because it's entrapped on a very shallow shelf. So it's really nice to be able to show guests all the beautiful shapes that they get in the ice forms in a very, very safe environment. It's been great for everybody to paddle around, and lots of wildlife, lots of penguins. Well, I think, one of the things Antarctica in particular, why it's special for me is, it really takes us back in time. Not only are we back in time looking at ancient ice, but I think somewhere within ourselves we have access to maybe a little bit of our genetic memory where we had to live much more into the rhythms of nature. And I think that's what Antarctica gives the average person. It takes them outside of their comfort zone, and it takes them back in time within themselves.
I have been kayaking to Antarctica all my life. The seas of the world are joined as trouble and strife. Inuit craft, now our vessels in the south. We see penguins torpedo the whale's baleen mouth.
So today we're at Damoy Point, Dorian Bay. And over the last few days, we've seen quite a few seals, most of which have been crab-eater seals. And they're hauled out on ice floes, resting. They are marine mammals. They spend most of their time at sea, but they come back to the ice floes to rest. And they're molting, so you might have seen some of them scratching on the ice. They're shedding all of their hair and growing a new coat for the next year. So today, while we were commuting to shore, we were treated to a show of humpback whales out in the bay. So they were milling about, didn't look like they were feeding, but there were a few that were quite active, showing their flukes, doing some shallow dives. They are a type of baleen whale down here, and they also eat krill like the seals.
Hello everybody, welcome to Gonzales Vidal Station. This is an Air Force station that started to build in the 50s. The Navy arrived here in the 94. So that's why I'm here, part of my crew as well. So I'm Danilo, I'm the second commander of this base. So please enjoy the visit.
Hi, I'm Seeley Martin, and this is a piece of ice from the bay. And if you look at this carefully, you'll see that it's full of air bubbles. This formed when the snow fell on the top of a snowfield, and then as the years went by, 100, even to 1,000 years, the snow is compressed into solid ice, and the air within the snow is trapped by the compression of the snow into ice. And so this piece of ice has air bubbles in it. And so this air could be as old as 100 to 1,000 years. It could even date back to the time of the pharaohs. This is old air that is slowly being released to the atmosphere as this piece of ice melts.
My name is Alexander Golubov. Now we are on the bridge of Seaburn Crest, where we have all the tools and equipment to navigate safely. We are sailing now in Chilean fjords on the way from Antarctica towards our final destination, San Antonio near Santiago in Chile. So we were able to trace Shackleton Steps on the way from South Georgia to Elephant Island, and then even continue to Punta Arenas, where they eventually arrived. Antarctica and Patagonia are special destinations, but also inclusion of South Georgia make this voyage kind of unique, if I may say so.
Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, thank you very much for joining us on this South Georgia and Antarctica cruise. We had some magnificent days, excellent wildlife and beautiful scenery, and I hope you truly enjoyed this holiday trip with us. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again in one of our future cruises.